Setting up shelter for a TNR colony of feral cats. Video by Vladimir Kitten Project. A colony of feral cats that is undergoing a trap-neuter-return project should also be given shelter to improve their quality of life. Shelters especially help cats get through the coldness of winter. With some perseverance, a motivated person can gather materials cheaply or for free to make a collection of shelters. Please see our other video tutorials to learn how to make all of the shelters you see in this video and for advice on where to find styrofoam coolers. Once we had made a big enough collection of shelters to house all of the cats, we transported them to the colony. Be sure to tie down the load if you are moving them in an open pickup truck. The people at this industrial site had put out these wooden shipping boxes to help the cats. Their hearts were in the right place, but unfortunately they placed sponge, pillows, and old clothing inside the boxes. Never place any sort of fabric inside a shelter, nothing absorbent at all. The reason is that a wet cat will sit on the fabric, making it wet, and the fabric will be unable to dry itself out. The fabric will then freeze or rot, and the cats won't use the shelter. We set to work cleaning everything out of the wooden boxes. It's fair to say it was a biohazard. The fabric was disgusting and even rotten, and the cats had used it as a litter box. We not only swept out the boxes, but also sprayed them down with bleaching water and then let them air dry. Using a hammer, we then bent down any nails that were protruding into the box, making the walls safe for the cats. We then slotted the shelters into the wooden boxes as best as they could fit. Some of the shelters were small and therefore had only one entrance to save on heat loss, but the larger shelters had two entrances. We were mindful to arrange it so that no entrance was facing the cold air that would be blowing off of the ocean, nor facing where people would be. We wedged in the shelters with flat pieces of styrofoam that we had gotten for free from our recycling facility so that they wouldn't budge with cats jostling around. This was another permanent fixture on site that we could use for placement of cat shelters. Make sure to keep shelters away from active areas on industrial sites, lest the cats get injured. These massive shelving units were never moved. We slotted in several of the extra large cooler shelters, as there were lots of cats living right beside here. Since these shelters would be undercover, we didn't need to tape black garbage bags all over them to make them waterproof. We did place large pieces of scrap wood on top of them to make sure they wouldn't move. Even without a wooden shipping box or a covered area in which you can place cat shelters, putting them out on their own is fine. It is best if these can be placed in an area that is not busy so that the cats will not be intimidated to use them on account of being frequently disturbed. To get the shelters up off of the ground, you can set them on a pallet. You can weigh down the shelter with something that will keep it from tipping over from the wind or from a cat leaping out of it, but that is not so heavy that it will damage the styrofoam. Often cats will find the shelters on their own, but if you want to motivate them to enter, you can toss a few treats inside. If a shelter is full of straw, you can put catnip inside to encourage the cat to enter. Do not put catnip on bare styrofoam because the cat will claw up the floor of the shelter excessively when it is in a catnip frenzy. You can tell the shelters have been discovered if you see squash straw or nail marks on styrofoam. After your TNR work is done, make an effort to educate not just the person who will continue to feed the cats, but also the people on site who will be seeing the cats. They should understand that the shelters are already insulated and ready for cats, and that they must never put any type of fabric, sponge, cardboard, or other absorbent material inside. You could make a flyer containing that information and ask permission to place it somewhere visible, like a pin board in a staff lunchroom, to keep the people on site well informed.